funny family memories which have stuck with me over the years began early in my childhood, with my father retiring for bedtime and then reappearing without his dentures to make gruesome but funny expressions at his children, which caused us to giggle in wonder. At the age of 5, we took our first trip to Florida, in which we portrayed the Griswold family on their way to Walpole. Heading down Route 80 in the family Ford Falcon station wagon were my parents, my 2 sisters, and I, but also accompanying us were my grandparents, George and Carrie Kerfman. My grandmother was all about family. Everything we did together, every holiday, and even celebrating the New Year's, the cousins, the aunts and uncles, we were never without one another. So it was no surprise when she invited herself and grandfather to accompany us. With our luggage piled high on the roof, we set off on the rural highway towards Jacksonville, Florida, that is. This was a time before interstates and air conditioning. Cruising down the highway, we suddenly noticed flying clothes trailing our car. The top had popped on grandfather's suitcase, and his clothes would soon be a fading memory if we didn't backtrack to recover his tidy whities. Beware if you are riding in the back compartment of the car, as my dad also likes to put a bit of snuff between his cheek and gum. This would alas involve a lot of spitting. It only happened once, but I was the unfortunate one who was hit with a shower of tobacco juice. The Prohibitionist movement could have been led by none other than my Holy Roller Methodist grandmother Carrie and my mother Huldah. Heaven forbid that my granddad decided to have a cold beer when we crossed the Georgia line. I suppose he should have eaten something first, because the intoxicated beverage gave him the giggles. The more he giggled, the madder my grandmother became, and of course, the more entertaining for us. By the time I was 12, my sister Shirley and her husband Larry invited me to all the amusement parks with them because my sister was not a thrill taker, and I was Larry's sidekick. One of my first rides on the Bobcat roller coaster, we were slowly ascending the first hill when we suddenly realized the bar to hold us down was not locked. My brother-in-law Larry gallantly threw his arm and leg across me and held on for dear life as we had the ride of our lives until that was over. But that did not deter us. We again took flight on the salt and pepper shaker. The gravitational pull had us both pushed back against the rear of the ride, and our faces were pulled taut as if we were trying to escape Earth's gravity. Another memory, less jarring but memorable all the same, was when my cousin Janine spent the day with us one summer and stayed for dinner. Now she was the same age as my sister Jean, 4 years older than myself, and at dinner time, my mother being the perfect hostess, kept offering Janine more food, which Janine, being the perfect guest, kept accepting. That is, until I noticed at the end of the meal, she was turning a little green. So she proceeded into our bedroom and was lying on the bottom bunk bed. And I, of course, followed her in there. And being the little darling I am, I was chiding her and playfully punched her in the stomach. Well, that was all it took. Janine stood up and made it to the opening of the doorway, and then heaved the largest pile of puke I have ever seen as I leaped across it to go and find my mother to tell her the news. That'll teach her to exclude her younger cousin. story tonight is a stunt my friend Tom performed in Asheville last year. Tom is known far and wide for his mass consumption of alcohol. While we were visiting my daughter Shauna, the three of us went for a walk along a winding creek. I suggested we take a picture beside these rock formations. Well, Tom must have thought that was a good idea too, because before we knew it, Tom had leaped out onto the boulder. But he didn't stop there, no. As momentum and his inebriated estate condition took him away, there was no panic in his eyes, though, as he did the sidestep and disappeared over the side. I screamed, "Ah!" And Shauna slowly walked up beside me and said, "Oh my God." But before we could even react or dial 911, up pops Tom from behind the ledge. I'm okay, he shouts. I'm just sorry. Her husband, Corey, wasn't there to see the show. Madam Toastmaster?